So we leave Silicon Valley to pump billions into perfecting those. And we really just pull all of those in to make it very easy for businesses to access. And I bought a cow with my siblings.
What's your cow called?
Oh, my cow was called Daisy, of course. We bred red Brahmin cows, which are very cute. They look like bunnies.
Can you send me a picture? We'll put it on the screen.
I will 100%. They are to die for. Being a generalist is also very fun because you can work on new stuff every day. You're open to learning new stuff every day.
It's like unlocking new levels in a video game.
You know as much as I know that just putting yourself out there and trying and making mistakes is how you can learn better.
I think that you do a really good job of like making time for your family and making time for your interests and still being like a full-time girl boss running multiple businesses. Hello.
Sometimes I feel like a little bit too bossy.
Reclaiming Bossy.
I know. When I saw that rebrand, I was like, I feel that name.
Incredible. I'm so happy we're doing this. Dani, can you please start by introducing yourself as if you're speaking to someone that you've never met?
Okay. I'm Dani. If the voice hasn't given it away, I'm South African, and that's a huge part of my identity. I've been living in the UK for 3 years now. Actually, 3+ years, 3.5 almost. It's been a bit of a roller coaster. I moved over for a sponsored job out of the blue, straight out of uni. First thing ever, I was a bit in the dark. Learned a lot, but I just feel like I wasn't creating value where I was, and I think a lot of people have that same experience very often, especially if it's the first job. And I know you always start at the bottom, but I couldn't see in that company I was in like where my growth was going to be. So a friend of mine, an old friend of mine from uni and like sort of family friend, wanted to create. I went to him actually with an idea of mine that we didn't end up pulling through. It was around AI, but there was a lot of red tape around it, mental health stuff. But in that time, like reconnecting, we started 1958. So yeah, I don't know how far you want me to go into my background story, but that's what led me to quitting my job, also pursuing a master's at UCL and doing 1958 at the same time.
That's awesome. And tell us, what is 1958?
So 1958 was originally started as a venture studio where we were building tech for other businesses and other people's ideas for revenue or equity share. Mm-hmm. But it's evolved since then, and our flagship product that we've developed are conversational AI agents for scaling hyper-personalized customer conversations for B2C. So yeah, we work across any channel to chat to businesses, customers, and we have a platform that allows people to build out these agents very easily.
I love that. So today we're going to talk about all things AI and AI agents and tech. But because I want to make sure that everyone is included in this conversation, let's just do a little bit of like jargon busting. Yeah. Also for my sake as well, because some of the sexy tech is a bit scary for me. So words that come to my mind, let's start with the easy one. What is an AI agent?
Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of hype around what an AI agent is. There's lots of different forms of AI agents. But it's basically, yeah, what it is agentic AI. So it's AI powering, I'm not going to get too technical with this because, to be honest, I'm not a software engineer and I don't develop these things. But it's just AI software that performs tasks in different areas. But it really depends on the case that you're using it in. For us, we use conversational AI to perform conversations with people.
And how, again, just for the people who are listening who don't have any technical background, how is that different to ChatGPT? And ChatGPT has its own agentic mode.
Yeah.
But what does your agents do differently?
So ChatGPT is like a foundational AI model. And we sit as a business layer on top of, so we use ChatGPT. We actually LLM agnostic. So we use any LLM model out there, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, all of those. There are options to use when you're building out agents on our platform. And we sit as a layer and we make those foundational LLMs work for businesses. So we make them create value in businesses. So you're not left with just like ChatGPT, how do I make this work for my business? We plug that into our system to make ChatGPT make you money, save you money, through conversations at a very low cost, or driving sales through hyper-personalization. So yeah, we're basically a business layer. We bring different models together. And we don't like to build out those foundational layers. Like, we don't want to create our own special voice models or LLMs, because honestly, we don't have that money for it. So we leave Silicon Valley to pump billions into perfecting those. And we really just pull all of those in to make it very easy for businesses to access and create value with.
And again, just for jargon, can you quickly tell the peeps what an LLM is?
Yeah, so an LLM is a large language model. And yeah, so it's like your ChatGPT, your Claude, your Gemini.
My next question is around, how did you even get into this world? Because you studied accounting and finance. So, I mean, it's a bit mathsy, STEM, the maths and tech is all intertwined. But you said you're not a software engineer, and like, it's not the technical tools that you like have been dealing with for a long time. So how did you go down this path?
Yeah, very good question. Well, yeah, so I studied accounting and finance. Then I also did a postgrad in marketing and advertising. And I've always just been very like entrepreneurial driven. When I was younger, I used to we lived on a small holding with my family, and I had my own chicken business, and I had free range eggs. And then I also ended up selling all of those and the money I made out of that, and I bought a cow with my siblings. We each had a cow. My brother had the bull.
What's your cow called?
Oh, my cow was called Daisy, of course. Daisy's long gone now, but as siblings, we even set up together after that, and we bred red Brahmin cows, which are very cute. They look like bunnies.
Can you send me a picture? We'll put it on the screen.
I will 100%. They are to die for. But yeah, that was like just things that I did when I was a kid, and I've always just been interested in business, and I guess the accounting and finance was like what I studied to sort of have a foundational layer in understanding business, but it wasn't also creating enough value in my life, and I wasn't feeling pushed creatively. And then I came up with an AI powered like idea that I wanted to go to build with my friend Ollie, and we actually chatted about it, and there was too much red tape around it, and at the time it was a bit complicated for what it was. But through that, he ended up leaving his job, and he was like, I want to start something of our own studio. Do you want to be part of that? And I was like, okay, let me take the leap. I've always been interested in tech, but unfortunately never learned enough of the technical side to be able to code and all of that. But I love growth, businesses, being creative, strategic. So I'm more on that side of things. And I love product, and I do definitely love to add like ideas. We should do this, we should do that. But unfortunately, I'm not the one building yet. But yeah, I'm more on the operational side, but then also product strategy and growth and all of that. So yeah.
I think it's so interesting that you can be a tech founder without having to be super, super technical.
Yeah.
Some people are really put off by it. You did accounting and finance. I did geography. Most random degree ever. Like,
I've heard the cool girls come out of geography.
All the cool girls come out of geography. But like, I felt so intimidated by it. And we work in the same incubator. I'm one of the only like non-super, super technical businesses that we work with. And I remember feeling so intimidated by it. I was like, I am so technically illiterate. I don't know how to code. I didn't know a lot about the stuff. And actually through this podcast and speaking to cool people, I understand a lot more about it now. But I always felt like I was a specific kind of person. I was going to do creative things and like all that stuff. But through being a founder, I've learned how to become more of a generalist. And when we were having one of our off-camera conversations, I remember you said that you are such a generalist and how it's one of your superpowers. And I think that a lot of times generalists don't get the credit that they deserve because they're not super, super good at one thing. But can you talk to us a little bit about like what your opinion is on being a generalist and how to learn on the go and just keep expanding the things that you're good at?
I often get asked, like, where do you see yourself being and what are you good at? And honestly, I find that a hard question, mostly because like you said, I'm a generalist and I can name a lot of things that I'm good at, and maybe it's not something so specific. And sometimes I've had doubts in myself because it's so broad and I feel like I should be, I don't know, a doctor in something specific or, you know, like very specialized. But especially in a startup, I actually found that to be a strength because I do a bit of everything. And I think being able to understand different parts of the business, especially if you're on like a strategic side and you're looking for the bigger picture and growth of where the business is going to go, that's really important to have, because if you're too focused on a specific niche area, and that's like, I'm not saying it's always like this, but if this is your main job to see, you know, something very specific and work on something very specific every day, it's hard to see the bigger picture of like where's the company going to grow, and where are you going to grow. And I think being a generalist is also very fun because you can work on new stuff every day. You're open to learning new stuff every day. And I think I'm hoping that even in the lots of different areas that I work in now, that I become more of a specialist in those areas over time. And then you can be a, you know, not a generalist, but a multi-specialist. That would be a nice thing to be. But I definitely feel a bit of imposter syndrome being a generalist, because I'll be in an area where I'm working with people and I'm maybe not the most specialized in this space, but you're still speaking to other people who are specialized in the space. And I do that. I mean, I literally, like, when it comes to contracting and legal stuff, I'm basically being, maybe we should take this off the live thing, but I'm basically being a lawyer for the company too half the time. Never studied anything in it. I mean, we did take like some law sort of modules when I was doing accounting and finance, but yeah, and I'm literally having many, you know, fights with other companies' legal teams, and I mean, I'm learning so much, and I'm hoping to become, you know, more proficient in all the areas. But I also do feel that imposter syndrome because you're doing a bit of everything and you're not a specialist in anything. So yeah.
I love the whole multi-specialist idea. That's so cool. It's like unlocking new levels in a video game. It's like, I can do this and now I can do this, and it's so fun.
And once you've played X amount of rounds in this, I'll become, you know, a little mini specialist.
I love that. Do you have any ways that you find useful in learning new skills and upskilling yourself? Because I think people, again, sometimes feel really limited by, I'm this kind of person, I'm good at this. And I think for me, one of the most rewarding things is learning to learn and figuring out that, like, I can upskill myself and actually figuring out ways that work for me to do that in an efficient way. So how does Dani learn to learn?
I honestly learn by just trying and being thrown in the deep end, and I will make a bunch of mistakes. And hopefully the people around me in the space are understanding of that. And then once I've made a mistake, I never make that mistake again. I hate making mistakes, but I do make them.
Give us a story.
Oh no, it's too soon to chat about the most recent one on my mind, but it was even a billing mistake from last month, and I'm bloody studied, shouldn't say that on the loudspeaker, but I studied accounting.
You can say bloody.
And it was so basic. It was honestly just a human error mistake, but it was very embarrassing. And that was one thing, but luckily the team's understanding, and it's the one part of our business that it's an automated. So there's so much space for human error. But I mean, it's embarrassing, but as long as you can pick up from that and make sure you never make the mistake again, I'm actually glad I made that mistake. It just gave me a bit of a wake-up call, honestly. But I definitely think, and I think you're inspirational in this sense, because you with your languages, and this is something that I would love to become better at. And I always say, you know, you got to practice, you got to try, you got to make mistakes to become better. One thing I'm struggling with is I'm trying to learn languages, and I'm still a bit scared to try speak and make those mistakes. And that's one thing I've seen you do so well. And this is a bit off topic now, but I think you know as much as I know that just putting yourself out there and trying and making mistakes is how you can learn better and become better.
I love that. I'm gonna cry. No, but with languages, I think that's such a good example, because for me, it didn't ever feel that serious. And so making a mistake, it didn't feel that serious. It didn't feel that deep. And so if I say something, like I say something silly and someone laughs at me, it's okay. But sometimes, like for example, with the example of work, if I make a mistake with my company, it feels so serious. And I go into a spiral of like, I'm not good enough, maybe I should quit, this is not okay, like, am I the right person for this, like, this is maybe a sign from the universe that I need to give up and whatever. And you go into this whole negative self-talk. And we were talking about imposter syndrome. So as well as imposter syndrome, how do you coach yourself through the mistakes and give yourself the grace?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'm laughing about like my previous mistake now, but I think I felt really bad about myself the whole day or two after that. I kind of felt, well, if I can't get this right, which is literally like what I studied, you know, I literally was telling myself I'm not good at anything. And because I'm a generalist, I was like, what am I went through all of it's crazy you're asking me this question now, because in my mind everything was coming up like, what is my biggest strength? Like, I have to have one biggest strength. There needs to be one thing. And I couldn't allow myself that there's multiple things. And also, because I was doing multiple things, you might make more mistakes because you are working on so many different projects. And that's where you got to try to find a balance. I think I just needed to give it some time. Like, I gave it a day. I was feeling really, really bad about myself and pretty useless. And I was telling myself horrible things. And I actually called up my sister that day, and I literally broke down to her, and I was like, I messed this up and I'm so embarrassed about it. It's one thing that's supposed to be so easy for me. And I feel, you know, it's quite a big thing because we sent out the wrong stuff to our clients, and it's going to be so embarrassing to tell them I made a mistake, and a really silly human error mistake. It wasn't anything complicated.
No.
And honestly, she just hyped me up. So I think I would love to learn how to bring myself up a bit more quickly. And I was able to do it. She just needed to point me in the right direction and say, look at all of these positives about yourself and look at what you're good at. It was a silly mistake. You've got so many projects you're working on. Just give yourself a bit of grace. So I'm trying to remind myself that myself without having to reach out for support. But sometimes I do. And this was the situation where I did.
That's beautiful. And you know what? There is no shame in reaching out for support. People always talk about how entrepreneurship is lonely, and it can be, but also community is everything. And I think what you do really well is like bringing the people in your life along with you in the journey and really making time for your relationships and balancing it quite well with work. Like, I mean, I know we were joking about not having seen each other for a while because we're good friends, but I think that you do a really good job of like making time for your family and making time for your interests and still being like a full-time girl boss running multiple businesses. Hello. And so how do you balance that, and how do you not like go into the whole tunnel vision, must focus on me, my vision, myself, and still make time for your relationships?
Honestly, it's quite up and down. And maybe the outside picture looks like it's quite smooth and it's working quite well. And I think a lot of people see only, not even in my case, but in lots of businesses' cases, they see you only really share the pretty picture. And often when things aren't going well, I just lock out and I don't speak to the outside world. So no one will ever really know. But it's definitely ups and downs. And I do try to do everything, and I try to make time for my family and friends and whatever. But sometimes I go through ruts where I can't, and I sort of burn out, and I have to just take a weekend to myself without seeing anyone else to recover from it. And it's something that I'm still kind of learning along the way. And usually I can balance a lot just because I think I'm naturally someone who likes to be busy. I mean, it's not really good to say this, but does work well under pressure, works well being busy. And I also do need human connection to feel good. So I know for my own mental health, I need to make time to see friends and family. Yeah. But often things get thrown out of balance, and no one knows because I just stay under the radar about it. And I don't tell anyone when things are off balance. I just don't talk to anyone, and I just try to keep some quiet time for myself. Yeah. But it's something that I'm also just trying to work out, especially because I was studying on the side and now that's finished. But I almost feel like when I finished doing that, life became busier. Yeah. Even though I thought I was going to have more free time, I actually didn't. And I think, especially, you know, being in a startup, every day is different. Some seasons will become busier. Our busiest season is right now. We've got a bunch of new clients that we're trying to onboard. And you would think towards the end of the year, it's going to quieten down before Christmas, and it's been the complete opposite. So I think, yeah, I try plan as much as possible to fit everything in, but it's kind of trial and error most days.
Yeah. And what you said about like kind of going off radar when you're upset and when you have difficult moments is so important, because it shows that like social media is fake.
Yeah.
I'm the same. I shut down when I'm upset. Like, no one can tell.
Yeah.
People also don't realize that you can schedule content on social media. So
I do that.
even if I've got posts going out of like me traveling around the world or like doing yada yada whatever, speaking at some event, doing some conference, I could be in my bed crying for all people know. And I think it's that whole point around comparison and how social media is a highlight reel, and regardless of whether you're in entrepreneurship or you're doing whatever, whether that be like working, studying, I think a lot of people struggle with comparison and not feeling like they're doing enough and they're not doing their life correctly. It's something I constantly get into a rut around of like, how can I maximize my life? How can I get more productive? Why am I not doing enough? Why am I behind? So how do you deal with comparison and that like anxiety? And do you have any advice for other people?
Yeah, comparison is a huge problem. And that's why I always feel guilty when people are like, you live in your best life, it looks like you're everywhere. And I always tell people up front, don't trust my Instagram, because I post 10 months late on everything. And I'm only posting the good stuff. And trust me, I've had some, downs in between there that I'm not sharing because I'm not an influencer. But I like to just keep some of my like special memories on there. So it's only going to look good in my case. When I'm feeling in a rut with comparison, I try myself to go off social media. I don't like to see what other people are doing. I don't delete it. I'm pretty like strong-willed. I just won't look at it because I know it's not going to make me feel good. So I think that, and then also remembering, even if you are on social media, I know that my life doesn't look as good as it looks on social media on my profile. And everyone else's life is going to be the same, so you just got to keep reminding yourself you're only seeing the highlights of everyone's stuff. And I think people have said this a lot, but it's really helped me with comparison and relationships, startups. And I think there's a lot of pretty hype around being a founder, and it's a lot darker sometimes than it seems. And you never want to share the dark stuff because you want it to look like your business is doing well. It's especially if you're looking for like investment, and you're not going to show your flaws. And that's where it becomes even more dangerous, because everything looks like a pretty picture when it's not always as easy as it looks on the outside.
And what is the dark side? Let's talk about that.
Well, for me, I get quite lonely because most of our team and our development team is based in South Africa. So if I don't go to like the co-working space enough or, get out of the house, I really get very lonely. And I feel like even though I'm not, in the UK, I feel like I'm building something on my own. And it's just incredibly lonely, honestly. And I think I sometimes question, like, should I even be here? Maybe I should move back to South Africa, but then we do need someone here. So I think it's having like a lot of doubts on, where's my place meant to be, feelings of loneliness.
I get that too.
Yeah, you're a solo founder, so...
I work alone. Yeah. So if I don't leave my house, if I don't go to the cute coffee shop or the co-working space or the office that we share together, I literally don't see people. And also, it's not just the actual company. When you work for yourself, by yourself, no one is telling you that you're doing a good job. No one's telling you that you're doing a bad job. No one tells you when you have to turn off your computer. No one tells you when you need to turn on your computer. And so it's this constant like mental coaching of, I need to do more, have I done enough? And that tug of war can be really exhausting. And I actually find, I was speaking to my business mentor about this yesterday, I find that the emotional side of being a founder is 10 times harder than the practical side. Yeah, fine, I hate doing invoices, I hate doing like event logistics and all this kind of stuff, but it's easy compared to the mental stuff of like loneliness? Have I done enough? If you're not happy with something that someone on your team has done, how do you communicate that without like being mean or upset with yourself or upset with them? Or if you have investors, I don't have investors, but that's a whole other emotional worthiness. I was speaking to another founder, and this episode is going to come out soon, so you'll see. And she was talking about how fundraising is like dating.
Yeah.
And I feel like I didn't realize how much like attachment style and like all that emotional stuff would come into running a business. And so do you have any tips on like how to stay emotionally regulated as a founder as well?
Yeah, that is a very important one. I'd say, I think if you are working with other people, just be as open as possible, because the worst is when there's sort of hinting or passive aggressive, behavior between teammates, because I think it just makes you overthink everything even more. And if you're working with someone, like, I'd rather just be open and honest about it and talk about what's going on, so that, otherwise it's mentally exhausting. So I'd say that, and just communicate as much as possible. And I found that actually quite challenging sometimes. I mean, I communicate, I overshare and I over communicate, but sometimes I don't feel the same from like everyone else, which is fine, because sometimes they're not seeing anything wrong. But I sometimes feel if I don't hear everything, then maybe there's something that's not okay, but usually it's fine. But I think it's just different personalities. Also me being the only girl in the team.
Let's talk about that.
That's also quite hard sometimes. And sometimes I feel like a little bit too bossy and irritating being the girl.
Reclaiming Bossy,
I know. When I saw that rebrand, I was like, I feel that name. But I also feel like it's important to have someone there who is getting everything in order, who is, a little bit more serious about about some of the things. I mean, I can be very unserious too, but when it comes to like operational stuff, I'm a bit of an operator when I want to get things done. And sometimes I feel like I'm the only person who's caring about it. And then that's also when the loneliness comes in a little bit. But it's nothing major. It's more just different personalities. And I guess it's a strength of mine. But I sometimes just worry myself that I'm being a bit bossy. But I'm probably not. This is probably another, area where you can overthink.
Let's talk about being bossy, because first of all, I've never heard a man being called bossy in my life.
No.
And you said you're the only girl on your team.
Yeah.
And you said that you feel a little bit bossy. And so how has that been? Because I think like, first of all, there's so many statistics around like being a female founder and the fundraising gap and the visibility gap and the blah, 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 and whatever. And I could sit here and continue to cite facts around how like unequal this world is and whatever, but that's not the point. We also don't want to scare people into thinking that they shouldn't start businesses or they shouldn't be the only girl on their team, because there's so many strengths to it as well. Like you said, you're an operator, you see like a bigger picture, you can multitask, you can do all these things. But what is it like being the only girl on your team? And do you have any advice for women who work in male-dominated spaces or male-dominated teams on how to communicate with authority, on how to communicate with confidence, and how to just be okay with being bossy, because there's nothing bad about it?
Well, I think particularly your point on working in a male-dominated space. So luckily, my team is lovely. They are all such good guys. And I really adore them. But in the bigger picture of the people that we work with, even in like the client space, especially in South Africa, it's very, very male dominated. And the other day I was in a meeting, I was sitting at a table and there were about 15 people and I was the only woman. And it really hit me. There was another guy there who had an assistant that came in. She was his PA, and she came to me afterwards and she said, it's really nice to see another girl at the table. And that really hit me on how male dominated the industry is. And because we work with a lot of big insurance companies, telcos, those kind of spaces especially, very male dominated. And often when I'm in those meetings, sometimes I will have spoken and whatever, and sometimes some of the questions that come back to us get asked to the guys instead of to me. But that's where they're also very good, because they'll say, Dani, you can take that one if it's like operational, or so they're very good at encouraging the inclusivity, which is really nice. But I think it's just about, when you're in a room, you got to show that, in your areas, what you're talking about, and then people take you a bit more seriously. But it's definitely harder to break into it, because at first impression, they just think, I don't know, they probably think I'm a PA. No, not really. But, that is the kind of space that, we were in, where the only women at the table were PAs.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's nothing wrong with being a PA, but it's so hard to break into the tech space as a woman.
Oh my God.
So I'm still trying, and sometimes I get frustrated, but yeah.
Can we talk about something a little bit juicy, a little bit gossip? So on this topic, I find being a female founder, and I don't even work, I mean, media is like quite like diverse industry, at least on screen, but oh my God, is it such a joke to be taken seriously as a female founder? Because I've played is this a business meeting or is this something else game too many times this year, Dani. Too many times. I'm so done. I don't even take some meetings anymore once I see who the meeting is with, because I'm like, this is not a business meeting.
Going to be.
And that's really unfortunate. And that happens. And I was having a conversation yesterday with this guy, and he was like, oh yeah, like as a pretty girl, like, and he was saying some controversial things around how women use their beauty to get like opportunities. And I was like, do you know how irritating it is to not be taken seriously because of how you look? And pretty privilege is real. So if you don't look good, you don't get the, like, I don't know, it's a whole thing. And so what is your opinion on, is it a business meeting, or why am I here? What's happening? Because I have stories. We can go into it. I'm sure you have stories too.
No, I can totally see that. And there have been some times where I've maybe been at a networking event, and then someone who's not related to my business and isn't going to benefit from my business has said, we should meet for a coffee and chat about business. And I'm just thinking, I don't know what plans you have for us, but I don't really see it working business-wise. And then honestly, usually then I don't want to be, because they haven't completely said up front, and it is business. And I'll just say, sorry, I'm too busy to meet for coffee, but we can have a Google Meet for now, and then chat about it. And then usually it kind of just fades away. I don't have it happen so often, but I have had it happen before. But usually I honestly just try lead them away, so I don't have to waste my time, because I don't have time to waste commuting for a coffee to chat about non-business, because it's not going to work. But yeah, no, you probably have more funny stories to share than I do.
Maybe we will come back and we'll do a part 2 and we'll talk about is it a business meeting?
Is it a business meeting or is it something else?
But I want to talk about being taken seriously and how that's an issue as well. And not just in this area, but like being young, being women. I really struggle with being taken seriously. And we were talking about, you said you're not like the most serious person. I'm so unserious sometimes. But when I started my business this year, I felt like I had to play the CEO role of how to act, how to speak, how to be with my team, with my clients. Again, I'm not even investing. That's a whole different thing with social media. And I don't know how to strike that balance of like authenticity and seriousness and how to communicate like, I'm a boss. Like, sit down, listen to me, respect me, but also like I'm funny and I'm just a girl and all that kind of stuff. And so how has that been for you? What has been your experience with learning to step into being bossy and being taken seriously?
Yeah, I mean, so external advice I always got and I've tried to do is just be yourself. Just be yourself. And And I can say for you as well, you know, people naturally like you, and because of that, people will respect you. And I think as long as you're real and you're true to yourself, people will respect you. Maybe they won't always take your advice. And sometimes it's not just because you're a girl, but it's just because maybe they're stubborn. But I think the best thing to be is true to yourself, because if you try to put on a facade that you're not, have boundaries. But if you try to put on a facade that you're not, people can see beneath that. And for me, I found that off-putting. And I won't show you as much respect if I can see you're fake. Or you're one person. I mean, you definitely need to be a little bit more, you know, formal when you're in the business world than if we were just having a coffee together. But I also think you should still show your real side. And sometimes it's fun to be unserious, and people might be attracted to that realness.
When I dropped a serious act, I made so much more money, Dani.
Really?
I made so much more money. When I stopped being like, oh, this is how I'm meant to act, and this is how I'm meant to dress, and this is how I'm meant to talk, and blah, 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 blah. People started finding my TikToks, and they were like, hi, do you want to work together on this project? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? That's so cool. And so authenticity is number one.
Yeah.
It's number one.
I really think that's it. And if I'm ever in a place where I'm feeling it's not me, and I'm not, this isn't, you know, my strength sharing, I'll just say to them, look, I'm not, you know, the best in this space, but luckily for me, I have a team, so I can say, let me put you in touch with our technical guy. And he can share more, rather than me acting like I know everything about it when I don't. Yeah. And then sometimes it's also just about losing a bit of pride, to say, look, I'm going to be real. I'm not going to act like I know everything about this. Unfortunately, it's one of my limitations, and I'm working on it.
I love that.
So yeah,
I love that. I'm going to copy and paste that. You don't need to know everything.
No.
The whole point of life is to like learn.
Yeah.
And so it would be so boring if you just knew everything from the start. What I want to learn a little bit more about, and I think some of the audience people will want to learn more about, is what you said about boundaries. Because I did a whole podcast episode on boundaries a few months ago. It's a big topic of mine that I'm very passionate about. But that was way more for like your friends, your family, your relationships. Workplace boundaries is something so new to me, because I'm going to be so for real. I've been out of uni for like 2 months. And so that's not something that I've ever had to experience. And I'm only just starting to get into that. So what is your experience on boundaries in a professional space? And how do you, first of all, figure out what they are for you, set them, communicate them, and like respect other people's ones as well? Yeah.
So figuring them out, I think it takes a bit of time and trial and error, and it depends on what environment you're in. But I definitely think I've always been a yes person. I mean, I said yes to doing this podcast, so last minute.
Okay. Should we tell them what happened?
Yeah, you can tell them what happened.
I was meant to have another interview, and I got a call on the way to the studio. Well, it was my fault, because I have like a little social media blocker thing. So I opened my phone and I saw 15 minutes before we went to roll, like, I can't come in anymore. I was like, shit, what are we gonna do? Studio's already paid for, my producer's already here, what are we gonna do? And I called Dani, and that's how we're here.
One thing I've had to learn in life is boundaries, because there's a fine line between, you know, being a yes person, being spontaneous, and then also overcommitting and doing too much, in work and in life. And in work, I've learned that rather underselling what you can do within your team is better, and then overproduce. Rather surprise them with more work, but only take on or tell them that you're going to finish X in the day or in the week, and then overproduce. Because I'd rather, set the boundaries of, set the expectations like that, and then it helps me with like my commitment, because I'm a yes person, so I'll say yes, I can do everything and I can do this and that, but I'd rather say yes to less in this time frame, put the rest on my list. I'll try my best to get there, because I'm always, wanting to tick off the list. but it's better for everyone and for communication and for making sure that you actually show up where you need to show up and pull through on what you need to pull through on. And then boundaries, so that's the boundaries in the sense of like workload and what you can do. I don't, in terms of like client convos, I don't really set boundaries. If it's like for new clients, if they want to schedule a call, I often wake up and have meetings at 7 a.m., especially if I'm meeting with people in South Africa. And I will do that if I feel like it's worth it. But if the client's coming back always needing support, then you do need to go and set some boundaries and say, look, I can only meet, once every 2 weeks for a 30-minute session. We can have a catch up.
You know what you said about of under-promising and over-producing? I think it's so interesting because I found in my case, my ability to work fluctuates. And so my ability to say yes fluctuates. And I used to think it was random, but now I realize it's a seasonal thing. And so now I'm really strategic with it because I know that there's some times where I can be yes. And then there's times of my life where, like, for example, if I'm about to get my period or if it's like really busy or whatever, I know that I have about 3 good yeses in me. And I have to save them. I have to budget for it. It's like a whole accounting thing,
Yeah.
And with boundaries, they don't have to always be rigid. There are some that are rigid of like, please don't talk to me like this. Please don't say this. Please don't blah, 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 whatever. But in terms of saying yes to stuff, it's really just like a checking in with yourself and having a system of like introspection to know whether you're happy with something or not happy with something. And for me, I find journaling is the way to do that. Doesn't necessarily have to be written. It can literally just be me like voice noting my phone, voice noting ChatGPT, doing little vlogs in my camera roll. But how do you check in with yourself?
Yeah. So this is very niche, but every single day after work, I have a bath.
Ooh.
And I don't do anything. And okay, luckily I live in a place that has a bath. I'm very lucky that I can do that. And it's probably not the best for this.
You're going to get cancelled now, Dani.
But that is my me time where I put my phone away, I put everything away, I leave it out of the bathroom so I can't even grab it and check. And I just sort of reassess the day, where I'm at. Am I coping? Is there anything, that I need to... Because I think sometimes having too much stimulation, having your phone nearby, having a laptop nearby, I think that's why people journal with a notebook and they put all the, everything away. I like to just have random notes in my head going around, and I'll check in with myself and I'll, think, okay, what are the very important things that maybe I'm feeling overwhelmed, but what are the really important things that I need to achieve for like tomorrow? Just to try like stop getting overwhelmed with all of the things that need to be done, because there's always an ongoing list and you got to just try pretend like this is the priority and the other stuff doesn't matter for now. Otherwise you're always going to be living in overwhelm. And yeah, that's like the space that I have where I just think about life, and I also use that space to be creative, because I feel if it's hard to be creative when you're not bored, and the only way to be bored is to put yourself in like a blank room with nothing to do, no music, just with your thoughts, and you think about life and you think about things that need to get done, maybe things you can do better, and stuff like that. So that's my personal thing. And I think without my bathing session almost every single day, I would definitely struggle and laugh a bit more, because that's like my therapy session.
I love that. And it sounds like, I don't do the bath, but silence. And I think that when you're always running around and you're always busy, if you don't make time for silence, if you're constantly consuming, whether it's content, music, podcasts, meetings, information, you get so tired. There was a phase of my life where I was like, I have slept 9 hours, why am I so tired? And it was because from the start of the day till the end of the day, I was constantly inputting information into my mind of like, I'm cooking, I'm walking, I'm whatever, listening to books, listening to podcasts, doing whatever. I was like, how can I maximize every moment? But like you said, people are meant to be bored.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're meant to be bored, and sometimes you're meant to just have these moments of like stillness. And I think as a founder as well, that's something that people don't realize. You have these crazy, I could call them harvest seasons. So like right now I'm in a harvest season. Today I've got this, and then we're going to go to the office and we've got our shoot, and then I'm going to go host an event, and then I have to go home and do like 3 hours of admin.
Yeah.
And it's a harvest season. It's crazy, crazy, crazy. But then there's like, in a month's time, I know that it's going to be quiet, and that's going to be scary, because all in harvest season, you have all these opportunities coming in. But then there's times where you have to wait. You have to wait for clients to respond to you. You have to wait for people to get back to you. You have to wait for good ideas to come. And that waiting time and that patience is so scary, because you think that you're failing. You think that you're going backwards, but you actually just need to be a little bit bored so you can get to the next phase. And so how do you stay, again, grounded, regulated, and okay in those little boring phases and those quiet periods?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm preaching all this about being bored and stuff, but I actually get very impatient. I'm quite an impatient person, and that's one of my weaknesses that I always try to work on. But if someone asked what my biggest weakness was, I'd say it's impatience. But I think I've just learned over time that my life is better when I have some periods of calm. So I've just, and I know I need to force myself to have it, even if it feels a bit uncomfortable. It will benefit me and I'll feel better afterwards. So that's why I go to the bath with no stimulation, no distractions, no music, nothing. I force myself, this is my place and this is where I relax. And I think I used to have more periods of boredness and calm growing up that I don't get so much anymore. And although I'm an impatient person, I learned, like in my childhood, that having that calm, because I used to go into nature all the time and, we call it the bush, which is like safari and with animals, and there would be no internet, no electricity sometimes. And you just there with you and maybe your family or some friends, and you force yourself to find other ways of entertainment, and you also spend a lot of time thinking about life. And I realized when I came to London, everything was go, 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 busy, busy, busy. There's no space for relaxation. And now I've really learned to appreciate quiet time and quietness, and I know I always just feel better after being bored, because I'll rethink things, maybe give myself a bit of space, and I also think about what I've done well, and I'm able to appreciate things that have happened, practice gratitude and be more thoughtful. So I think I've just realized it makes me a happier, better person, even though when I'm in the phase of go, 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 I feel I don't want to stop, I want to keep going, more is better, but sometimes less is more, whatever they say.
I love that. And I feel like this has been such an interesting conversation, because it's given a lot of the bossy gals who are listening kind of guidelines around different ways to manage your sanity whilst running your business, because we've talked about boundaries, we've talked about imposter syndrome, we've talked about boredom, we've talked about confidence. Like I said, these are some of the hardest parts of running a business. We could sit here and we could have a super technical conversation around how to do accounts and how to do. I remember one of the first times we co-worked together, I was like, Dani, I don't know how to do the invoicing on the please fix it for me. We could do that, but that's a Google thing. That's you can look that up, you can watch a video. I think this stuff is actually way, way, way more important. So I'm grateful that we did this. And usually at this point, I would ask you what bossy means to you and if you're reclaiming it, but we already touched on that. So I want you instead to tell me, or tell all the bossy gals that are listening, what you wish you knew when you started, and how they can reclaim bossy if they're starting out on the same journey that you started when you started 1958. What advice do you have to the people starting out, or to a younger version of you?
I'd say keep being resilient, because oh my word, there's almost every single week where I have a rut and I feel down about something, or I feel bad about myself or something, but you always get over it. And every single hurdle makes you a stronger, better person. And I'm actually so grateful. I mean, at the time, I'm never going to say this in the moment, because I'm always super low when, something goes wrong or something happens. But I'm really, really grateful for all of the really hard things that have ever happened to me, because I think it makes you a better person and a stronger person.
And more confident.
And more confident. So yeah, do hard things. take every opportunity and be resilient through the obstacles, and don't give up even if you feel like for a second or a minute or maybe a few hours that you want to give up. And yeah, just one thing I'm trying to work on is having more confidence in myself, because every time I go through those sort of ruts and stuff, I take a bit of a confidence knock, and I've got to bring myself back up. So I'd say just keep trying and make mistakes and just be resilient, because it will get better. It's never going to stay like that forever. As long as you're positive and you try, make a change out of your mistake.
I love that. You empower and inspire me so much. I'm sure everyone that's listening has felt super energized and motivated and seen by this conversation. I'm going to link everything down below, but where can people find you?
You can find me, well, if you want to email me, it's Dani@1958.com. Otherwise, you can, I guess...
LinkedIn?
Yeah, LinkedIn. Danielle Le Seur, you'll find me there.
Nice.
No one will be able to spell that.
I'm going to put it all in the description. It's okay. It's okay.
But yeah, if you ever want to chat or go for a business coffee, reach out.
Amazing. Thank you so much for everything. You truly are incredible, empowering and inspiring.
Thanks for having me today. And I hope I pulled through in the last minutes and lived up to expectations, because I promise you, on my true bride here, imposter syndrome was going through my head. Like, I shouldn't be being interviewed. Why do you want to interview me? No. So thank you for trusting me and believing in me. And I feel honored to be here.
Thank you for being a yes woman. Thank you for being brave and trusting me as well with this conversation and with all of the things that we spoke about, because it was really vulnerable. But I think it's going to help a lot of people.
Thank you.
Yay!